Hi everyone, my name's Jack. Welcome back to episode 19 of WAAC Weekly, the show where we look at Team Red Path news as well as world eaters out in the world. This week, relatively quiet week, only the 300 games played, and a 51% win rate. So let's get into the video. And a lot of games again this week. So 301 games this week from around 75 players, including 31 GTs and 44 RTT performances. Just the one event win this week, a 16-player RTT, which we'll get into. That means there's not been too much movement in the rankings. Liam Werzik remains top of the leaderboard with a strong GT performance, opening the gap a little bit at the top. So he's up to 642 with 4 events played. Shoy Quinn is still in second on 618 with 4 events played. And I would expect to see smaller gains from both of those unless one of them wins a massive event, which is entirely possible. In third place, someone else with 4 events filled out, Zachary Jefferson on 534. In fourth place is Antonius Tolman, 3 events and 511. In fifth place is Calvin Smith with 3 events and 497. The TRP crew. Jamie is in 13th at the moment with 3 events and 350. Dara is in 17th with 3 events and 332. And I'm in 31st with 2 events and 252. So I will be rectifying that in the next couple of months. Yeah, so up first, ITC Team Red Path news. There was someone from the team in action this week, and that someone was me. So I was at the Gothic Games RTT in Canterbury this weekend. A 63-player RTT. There are a couple of drops, I think, so it was probably nearer 55-ish, I think. It sounds like everyone was ill. It was a bit of a disappointing weekend for me. I went 1-2. I went in with quite low expectations because it was a massive tournament and there were a lot of the top players in the area. So London, there. I knew I was going to have some rough matchups, especially if I started doing quite well. I feel part of the reason it was disappointing is because I definitely should have gone at least 2-1. But alas. Game 1 was my first experience of Votan. I played a Ymir list. I don't think it was particularly optimized. I don't know that much about Votan, but there weren't any Hearthkin, there weren't any Berserks. And there was only the one Land Fortress. I got first turn with Invocatus and my Bum Rush list and kept him in his deployment zone for most of the game. Ended up winning 92-39. That's pretty, yeah, alright. Highlight was kind of with 20 Jackals coming in from Strat Reserve, charging a Land Fortress and very nearly killing it. Only for the Master of Executions, who was useless for the entire weekend, to come in and do like 10 more to it. Fine. Game 2 was into Tzeentch Demons with Be'lakor. On paper, a decent matchup for me, just because they're struggling in combat. It was piloted by Franco McDonnell, one of the better Demons players in the world. I've only played Demons. That's the second time I've played Demons with the new book, and the first time I've ever played Tzeentch, or pure Tzeentch. Played Thousand Suns and played a few times, but yeah. So the first time into Tzeentch Demons, it was a really good game, like really fun, really like close for most of it. I say that the final score ended up at 56-76. It was closer than that sounds. I went second. He played very aggressive. I had to extend quite a lot to kill Be'lakor when he romped forwards on Tide of Conviction to stand on one of my objectives, because otherwise he was just going to roll up my entire backline. And what I had left, I had to commit most of to kill him in one round, which I did, but it meant that he was able to get most of the rest of my stuff on the punchback. I did have to, at the end, I gambled a guaranteed 10 points to try for 18 in the last turn, which would also have dropped his score and would have got me a win, but it didn't come off. I was relying on buff Rhino combat and buff Spawn combat, and both of them let me down. However, at one point in the game, a Rhino did run over 2 Flamers in combat, so that was very funny. With +1 to hit and exploding 6s. That was very funny. Yeah, game 3 is also a thing that happens. It wasn't an enjoyable game. I don't really want to go into it. It wasn't an enjoyable game. And I'll leave it at that. So in terms of my list, don't copy this. It wasn't a very good list. It didn't feel quite right on GW terrain. So I was testing Invocatus. I also decided for some reason to run a Master of Executions with Talisman of Rage. Talisman of Rage was fine. Like, it came up a couple of times. My 8-bound nearly killed a land fortress with it, which was helpful. A lot of the rest of the time I just forgot it, or there weren't good targets because the Master of Executions were kind of out on his own, didn't have anyone to follow around that well. So I wouldn't advise it on him. I also probably wouldn't advise your Master of Executions unless you have space and transport for him. He just didn't keep up for me. 20 Jackals, I strat reserve them in every single game. Again, not sure about them on GW terrain because it feels quite open. And so, like, they came in, hit something and killed it, and then just died in return because they are cultists. So I'm a little bit mixed on them. I'm not sure they suit my playstyle. I think I do see the hype around Jackals, but I think I am gonna do 10-man kill squads into like chaffy screen clearance kind of strat reserve usage rather than a 20-man. I think, just because they have quite a big footprint. And yeah, it's therefore quite easy to draw a line on them, and if they get shot, they just die because they are cultists. I had 4 squads of Berserkers. Yeah, I mean, they're fairly staple in my list. I ended up putting an icon an extra one because I had points. 4x5 feels great, especially in 2 Rhinos. It means you can run them on each flank, and they're quite fast. So I probably won't be changing that as a core to my list. 8-bound, I ran 2 squads of 4 and a squad of 3. Again, the theory was the 2 4s go up with Invocatus, do their thing, then die, or just be a bit hard to shift and then keep people pinned in. The 3 was more of a reactive, could easily be an extra Berserker threat, but without the points for an extra Rhino, I wanted to keep the 8-bound in because they're just faster and also damage 3. Exalted 8-bound, deep strike threat, small footprint, keeping your opponent on it. And also for the harder to shift stuff, I think the Exalted 8-bound were what eventually did it for. They weren't what did it for Be'lakor. The Berserkers finished them off, but the Exalted 8-bound. The Exalted 8-bound did fucking nothing to. They're pretty nice. Like, you can obviously buff them up with the Red Butchers and flat damage 3 on strength 10 weapons. Pretty nice. Helps you get through a lot of harder stuff. So I'll probably keep a squad of Exalted. I'm starting to use them a bit more aggressively rather than as an afterthought now. They are relatively tanky, but it's 4-up, so it's swingy. Or it feels swingy. But I'll probably keep at least 4 squads. 3 individual spawn. This should surprise no one. I love them. They're really useful and really irritating. Either as bait pieces or as screening pieces, or just as blood type battery pieces. They're fine. Everyone knows what they do. 2 Rhinos with Havoc launchers just because I had points. And then 2 Executioners with Worthy Offerings and Mirror Fates. Again, this should surprise no one who's followed the channel. Executioners did quite a lot of work, actually. They, against the Tzeentch Demons, were picking up a Chariot a turn, which was lots of blood type points for me. I think I finished the game with 5 buffs up. 5 buffs? Yeah, I didn't do AP. I didn't do 6's hit auto wound. And obviously I didn't res Angron. But I had the other 5 buffs and max Parlor Skull. So that was quite handy for that matchup. Also damage 3 into things like Flamers and Screamers was really nice, because even though they're not going to fail too many saves. Every save they did fail was a dead one. Pretty nice. I know people are high on Brigands. Fine. Whatever floats your boat. Personally, I prefer Executioners, I think. And that might not be backed up by maths. Probably isn't backed up by maths. I'm sure I'll be corrected or whatever, or told off. I don't know. Fucking know. I prefer Executioners from my personal experience. They were pretty good against Votan. They were they cleared up some bikes and were sniping out some of the infantry with the stubbers. And then, in the Zinch Team games, they were fucking amazing. They weren't great in my last game, but that necessarily on there. So, so that's my list. In terms of tweaks, so my next tournament I've got is the London Open, which is on UKTC terrain in 2 weeks' time, just under 2 weeks' time now at the time of recording. 15th, 16th of April, GT, 5 rounds. I am going to take advantage of the UKTC terrain, pre-10th, pre-index shit, and run Angron and a Face Cap Bloodthirster. You might be able to see a Bloodthirster half painted on my table back there, because I am painting one, because I don't know one. I haven't got the rest of the list quite ironed out yet, but it's Angron, 4 squads of 5 Berserkers, probably Invocatus, and then Face Cap Bloodthirster with 10 Bloodletters. In fact, it will be Invocatus because I can't get Berserker Glaive on the Juggernaut Lord, because we can only take 1 relic. Probably a squad or 2 of 10 Jackals, 3 spawn, and then I'm looking at either 2 Rhinos or a Rhino and a Land Raider. The theory being Land Raider will be a third big thing that people have to deal with, although they're not that killy, so I don't know. Maybe. It would be a good meme. Land Raider on UKTC terrain would be the normal thing. I don't know. I want to try that as a meme, so we'll see. But I mean, on from the memery, we're looking at World Eaters tournament performances out in the world. So there are 10 really strong performances that have fed into the unit matrix this week. I'm going to take a look at the top 4 list from the weekend. We are hopefully going to start with Alan Dehesa's list from Gameology Pasadena Battle for Los Angeles. Excellent. So Alan went 4-1 at a 66-player GT, finishing 6th. And this was his list. So, Invocatus, Master of Executions, Bare Bones, Jackals with Icon and Skull Smashers, 2 squads, 5 Berserkers, 3 squads of 3 8-bounds, squad of Exalted, a Hellbrute, why not, 3 Spawn, 2 Quad Heavy Bolter Rapiers, and Angron. And a why you do this to me? A Forge Fiend with auto cannons and 1 ectoplasma. There's a lot of shooting there. Are auto cannons damage too? That's a lot of damage too, if so. Maybe he strat. I don't know. If you watch this video, which you may not, you probably don't, please tell me if you like strat reserve the Forge Fiend for targets priority. What you did with the whole firebase, basically. Or was it just that Angron is such a threat that everyone shoots him and not your shooting, and then they just flap with all shooting. Obviously, everything else is relative. No rhinos. Everything else is relatively fast as well, especially with Invocatus buffing them. I'm assuming that takes fire, and then it just sort of anchors your backline. Over is there. That's a really, really interesting list. Awesome that it's gone 4-1. The fact that I can't explain it means that Alan is probably a very good player. I mean, a lot of these units are good. Just don't see how it hangs together. But I clearly, basically, very well done. Very well done. 6th place at 6-player GT, 4-1, really strong performance. If you do watch the video, any insights you can provide in the comments below would be very much appreciated. Yeah, so up next, I don't think this is his real name, but we go to Shark Games Abril, which I think is in Spain. And this is Israel Caballeros de Caos, del Caos, which I'm pretty sure translates as Knight of Chaos. Don't think it's his real name. It's how he comes up in BCB. So this was the event win. He won a 16-player RTT, going 3-0 with Khorne, which is amazing. Invocatus and Warlord trait. 10 Jackals, bare bones, presumably for backline. 1, 2, 3, 4 squads of Berserkers with Icons and Eviscerators. 3 squads of 4 8-bound, 2 squads of 3 Exalted 8-bound, 3 Spawn, 2 Executioners with Curse. I don't know what Curse Fate is. And Precision Cruelty is really interesting as well, actually. Precision Cruelty is at when you wound on 6s, you get an extra AP, making them AP3, and extra damage, making damage. That's pretty nice when it goes off. To me, it doesn't feel reliable enough, especially with the low volume of shots, but the spikes can be real nice into some things, I guess. Yeah, so it can spike quite nice. And Customer Fate, I believe, is the if you save on 6s, you do a mortal wound to whoever shot you. It's against ranged attacks, I think. Sure. Again, it can spike or it can not, and it can sometimes feel useless. I don't know. It doesn't feel that impactful for points spent, but hey, clearly it worked. 3-0 at a 16-player RTT and an event win. So up next is hopefully Andy Patton at the Open War GT 2-dayer. He went 4-1 at a 36-player GT, finishing second. So, podium. He ran Invocatus with his Warlord trait. 1, 2, 3, 5 squads of 5 Berserkers, 3 squads of 5 8-bound, 3 squads of 3 Spawn. Okay, so this is the Anthony Bell list, or an earlier version of it. It's got the 5 Berserkers instead of the Juggernaut Lord with Berserker Glaive. And it's still on the squads of 5 8-bound as well. Presumably why he doesn't have. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, so in fact the 5 squads of Berserkers is fine. It's the 5s of 8-bound that make way. If they go down to 4s and you drop an icon off one of the Berserkers, that's how you get the Berserker, the Juggernaut Lord with Berserker Glaive. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about this list quite a lot. It's quite popular. Congratulations to Andy though, 4-1 at a 36-player GT with second place. Very strong performance. Up finally is Broc Bowman at Perils of the Geekery. 4-1 at a 40-player GT, and second place finish. So another second place finish, another podium. Pretty different list this time. Invocatus with his Warlord trait, Juggerlord with Glaive, Master of Execution's bare bones, 2 squads of Berserkers, 1 squad of 5 and 1 squad of 10. 2 squads of 5 8-bound, 4 Invocatus, I'm assuming. 3 squads of 3 Exalted, 3 Spawn, a Rhino, 2 Executioners with other offerings and mirror effects. This is, yeah, I like this list, funnily enough. This is a lot of things that the Red Path loves across Red Path. So Jamie likes Invocatus. Me and Dara like the Glaive Lord. I don't know, Master of Executions is a good meme. Dara likes the 10-man Berserkers as a hammer unit, and then the 8-bound makes sense as the pre-game move targets. 3 squads of 3 Exalted, very nice. 3 Spawn, and the Executioners with Mirror Fates and Worthy Offerings. Great shout. Yeah, very strong performance from Broc. 4-1, second place at a 40-player GT. Really strong. So, up next, we're going to just take a quick look at the unit matrix. This is just a record of what units, as well as of what units have been in the top list this week, as well as how many of each kind of thing. So, I haven't even sourced it yet. You can do it in real time. Okay, all the lists included at least 5 berserkers, at least 6 8-bound, and at least 2 spawn. Most of the lists included more 8-bound than that. Most of the lists also included exalted 8-bound. Most included imbricates of some sort. And then there was one list that didn't include imbricates or Angron, because the split is 6-3. Executioners and Brigands back to being on par in terms of popularity, 3 each. We are seeing a massive uptick, or this week there was a massive uptick in the usage of Knights, with 7 of the top lists using them. Again, as I say, a 3-3 split on Brigands and Executioners. I think the last one was like Huntsman or something, and I don't know what those are. I think they're the stabby thermal spear one. And yeah, so there were 3-3 split on Brigands and Executioners. The last one was, I believe, Huntsman. Yeah, Wardog Huntsman, which is the equivalent of the Warglaves for the Imperial Knights, which is the big sword thermal spear. So yeah, good to see. It's still new variants of Knights making a showing, but Brigands and Executioners are definitely the most popular, and I would say most of those are worthy offerings as well. I haven't tracked it here, but most of those are worthy offerings as well. There's a couple of precision cruelty, or there was one precision cruelty which we saw, but I think that is it. There was also it's not illegal, but there was a list that had House Abstracts in it, which means that in theory that list doesn't get Blood Tide buffed because it's not a Dreadblade detachment. No, it is illegal because Battle Brothers means you have to be Dreadblade. But there was a House Abstracts detachment in there as well, which you can't run. We have a video on it that I did, so go find that, and there's a fuller explanation of why you can't be House Abstracts. Also, a Blood Slaughterer made its first appearance. That was good to see. Also, triple Rapier Battery Laser Destroyers. I've seen them talked about. Not seen anyone do really well with them yet, but clearly there's some play. Also, more quad. We saw the quad heavy bolter Rapier batteries as well. Terminators are still clinging to life. Khorne appeared in 20% of the list this week. Sure. Yeah, and I mean it's the same stuff. We have quite a limited roster, so you'd expect to see roughly the same stuff at the top of the list this week. Interesting to see that there was some stuff this week with 100% that were just in all. I don't think that's been that common. We've had like 95% plus, but not too many 100%. So next episode, I'm hoping I'm going to take a look back through units since the codex has come out and how maybe track how opinion has, or how people have adapted to the meta a little. I should say adapted to World Eats in them. Yeah. So finally, we're gonna look at the great game. So where we're taking a look at the number of Godline Legion players for each god. And you may remember that last week we overtook Death Guard for the first time. I want to say ever. So the good news is we have grown that lead. Fourth place still is Emperor's Children, as you would expect, with no codex of their own. They're on 99. Thousand Suns continuing to grow, but slowly at 186. Again, there might be some fatigue from the tail end of Nephilim, where Thousand Suns are really good. Death Guard are in second on 287, so some fairly significant growth off last week, but still second. World Eaters looks like the majority of their 75 odd players were new this week because we are up at 327. Yeah, so we continue to grow in popularity. Rise up. But yeah, so we've got some interesting videos coming soon. I think Jamie's doing a unit analysis on Saturday. So keep an eye out for that. We've got streams Monday, Thursday on Twitch. Dara's also throwing in the odd weekends Twitch stream for all our international viewers to be a bit more time zone friendly. Keep an eye out for those. The best way to keep an eye out for those is in our Discord. So if you join the Discord, then you'll get little notifications whenever Dara goes live on Twitch or whenever a video gets posted. Oops. Yeah, if you want to know specifically only about YouTube videos, also subscribe to the channel. Drop this video a like if you liked it. Comment if you disagree with me. If I've said something stupid, if I've mispronounced your name wrong, let me know and I will do better. What do you think about my rubbishy RTT list and performance? Tell me. Also, tell me how I should play Angron and Bloodthirster properly. Because at the moment I'm torn between yeeting Angron and him shitting out a Bloodthirster with Warp Locus, or running them starting on the table so that the opponent has Spitfire. I'm sure I'll find out. I feel like I'm going to that GT to have fun. For a good time, not a long time. In which case I'll probably lean into it. Take Land Raider as well. So we'll see. But most importantly, guys, aside from join Discord, help our YouTube algorithm, tell your friends, all of that good stuff. Stay healthy, stay safe, and kill me, bro.